So I built a reg agent that analyzes code, summarizes what it does, and also generates documentation for the code. So first I'll go through a quick demo of it working, and then at the end I have a presentation to describe how it works. So first I'll start it up. I'll go Python 3 app.py, and I'll let that open up. Okay, now it should be live. I reload this page and we have our repository. Um, so here I'll upload a zip file that is an entire repository for a project. If I go here, GitHub, code analysis reg, toy repo.zip, and open. So before I go into that, let me explain what I have going on. The zip file that I uploaded is just a simple repo that I made just to test this code. It consists of 4 different pages, and the functionality is very simple. It basically uses APIs to get weather and news data and logs them onto files. So I compressed that into the zip file, which I upload and process, and it'll take a second to generate. And essentially, it produced a repository summary saying what the entire code does. And here, I have the opportunity to ask it about the code directly. So here I can ask, hey, what does this code do? I press send. It'll take a second to process my request, and it'll give me a very detailed look into what the code does, and also breaks it down slightly into each of the files. So for example, this api.py file, if I want to know more information on that, I can say, what does api.py do? And it'll give you a even more detailed explanation of what that specific file does. See, it can talk about like the different functions, how they work, and so on. And I can also ask even more detailed questions, like such as how different libraries are come into play. So in this code, I use the requests library, so I can ask, how is the requests library being used? And if I ask that, it'll take a second. And then basically, it references specific parts in the code, for example, like right here and right here, about where request library is being used. And then after citing these parts of the code, it explains exactly what it does. See, for example, it says request.get is used to fetch the weather data based on the provided city. And yeah, so basically, you can ask about the entire repo. You can ask about specific files within this repo, and you can also ask even more detailed questions such as what libraries are being used. I extended the functionality to include this generate documentation button. If I press it, it gives me the zip file back, and on top of that, in every single file, it'll include documentation. So I'll go ahead and start that, and it'll take a second to do that. This takes a little longer because it has to parse through each of the files in the zip file and generate the documentation. But once it does that, it'll automatically download, and I'll open it in VS Code to show you guys what that looks like. Okay, nice. So it generated it. It's right here at the bottom. Let me just slide that into my VS Code so we can look at it. I'll look at it. I'll throw it in here. Data tree not found. Okay, that's fine. I'll just do this. So it says toy repo 2. Basically, when you download it, it'll say toy repo 1. But I already did this just as a demo run before the video, so now it says toy repo 2. I can click into that. I can open with Visual Studio Code if I wish to. And yeah, so exactly here, the old api.py file was just this code, and this time it attached documentation on top. It says what is the purpose of this file, what are main functions, and yeah, things such as that. And it does that to all the other files as well. So yeah, that is the demo of the code and or demo of the reg agent. And now I'm going to do a quick presentation on how it works. So essentially there are 4 steps. First, the code analyzer, and then the 3 reg steps, indexing, retrieval, and generation. So the first step, pretty simple. It just extracts different parts of the code. So once you upload your repo, first thing it does is looks at file structure and dependencies, imports, functions, classes, and anything else that matter. And then it goes into the reg indexing. So this part is probably one of the most important steps of the reg agent. The code is split into meaningful parts. This is like functions, logic blocks, classes, and each of these chunks is converted using this LLM. And then each of those embeddings that are generated are then stored into a vector database for quick retrieval. And that brings us to the retrieval process. So when a question is asked into the chatbot, this question is itself converted into an embedding. And so the system searches for code chunks based on semantic similarity with respect to the question embedding. And then it retrieves your top K most relevant chunks. Here I have it defaulted to 5. And it uses the FAISS for efficient retrieval. And lastly is the reg generation itself. This is for generating the response. So once it's retrieved relevant code chunks, GPT 3.5 Turbo generates a response using the context, this retrieved code, the code analysis results, and also the user's question. And using all of these, it's a simple query to the LLM that generates a response that we simply paste to the front end. So yeah, the code will be on my GitHub, and anyone can run it. You just need an open API key in your environment variables, and I'll also include the test repo that I included. But yeah,